So we've farmed down there for about 30 years. 12 years ago we started with one butcher shop and everything here's grown since then. Unlike a lot of farmers, we actually used to eat the best of what we grew, and we didn't want to use hormone growth promotants in our cattle. So for every head we're $16 behind. Farming is not a hugely profitable thing, and so $16 a head actually adds up. We like to buy from other farmers who have a similar sort of philosophy, and one of the things that Pure Suffolk Lamb, we just have collected farmers and breeds and different things over the years. These are young bulls, so basically these guys will be producing our beef in about 4 years' time. When we first started out, we had 2,000 cows here, and as we grew, rather than stopping at 2,000 cows, we started buying calves off our neighbours. So we started up a stud, which means that we can breed the type of cattle that we want for the end consumer. We actually get an ultrasound, much the same as they use at hospitals, and they'll actually measure how much meat is at the loin, how much fat is at the loin, and how much fat is inside the loin.
It's so serious. I mean, there's a head office out of Brisbane, and then there's trade development officers who look after the processing plants. It's actually quite serious scientific information you're dealing with.
They actually prefer the grain to the pasture. They'll put on weight far quicker than they will if they were just grazing in the paddock. A ration's formulated by a nutritionist, and it's all about what we can buy and how much it costs, and it's all calculated back to its energy value.
So these guys get 50 days with access to grain, but they've access to pasture at the same time, and so we keep the flavour, but we can guarantee that it's not going to end up being tough.
Does it drive up the price in the end, or is it something you choose to do and you incur the cost?
So at certain times of year it costs more and certain times of year it costs less. So they're about 8-9 months old, those calves out there. They're an ox animal, so they're suited for 24 to 36-month-old beef. So it's suited to grass-fed. With grass-fed cattle and doing a pure grass-fed, they'll be older by the time they get sent off, which will calm them down. We will end up with some big cuts, which is going to be a challenge that we'll work our way through. Yeah! A lot of the meat that we use is very different. And so that's what we celebrate, is the difference in trying to keep track of it all. It tells you the production date, it tells you the grade, like the age. You know, it's all well and good to get portion cut meat, but understand that if you're portion cutting, that it's been cut out of its original packaging, because understanding that as it comes out of its different levels of packaging, it can lose its identity. The more whole you can get something, the more of a story you're going to get. So this is a 6 to 8 week old lamb. We do this out of both as a cross and as a purebred product. You see how its back legs, it's actually the natural position. It's very, very dry, but I mean, I think in this room you can feel like that moisture, you know, sucking the moisture out of you. The other thing is none of this meat has ever been in a cryovac bag, and that's probably the biggest sin against dry aging that's done in Australia, is that people cut stuff out of a cryovac bag and then try and dry it, and it doesn't work. The way to get the best MSA grading result is to have well-fed animals that have no stress. The better job we do for the animal, the better meat we're going to get. It's fantastic that you have that loop and you can really understand that.
Love you!